For over a century, moments of despair, fear, and control were photographed or preserved inside psychiatric hospitals, and today, those images stand as haunting witnesses. What looks like a decaying hallway is, in fact, a stage where thousands suffered under outdated treatments. These aren't just photos of ruins, they are fragments of forgotten people. In this video, we reveal 10 of the most unsettling images that remind us how fragile dignity once was within these walls. Number 1. Patients in restraint chairs. This image captures what seems like an ordinary wooden chair, until the leather straps and steel locks reveal its true purpose. Patients sat upright for hours, their arms locked at the sides, their legs bound, their bodies fixed in stillness. The idea behind it was simple, but cruel. Doctors believed that by keeping someone from moving, their agitation or violent outbursts would quiet. But stillness came with a heavy cost. Muscles weakened, skin wore down into sores, and the mind shifted from rest to despair. For those strapped into it, the line between treatment and punishment blurred. Silence was mistaken as healing, though it was often surrender. Instead, the photograph stands as more than furniture. It testifies to a time when control was valued over care. From wood and straps, we moved to a device that turned a bed into a coffin. Number 2. The Utica crib. Imagine a bed built like a cage. The Utica crib was a long wooden box with a hinged lid of bars, narrow enough that a patient had to lie flat. At first glance, it mimicked a child's cradle, but the slats and locks gave away its true purpose. Doctors in the mid-1800s described it as a calming device for those considered overexcited. In practice, it trapped patients for long hours, sometimes through the night, with no room to turn. Darkness and restriction replaced comfort. Its dimensions themselves told the story. Low height, close width, and a lid that closed like a lid on a chest. The space was too tight for rest, too rigid for care. The photographs remind us how supposed progress could drain both dignity and safety. From confinement in boxes, we moved to treatments where water stole the air. Number 3. Hydrotherapy rooms. White tiled walls, deep bathtubs, and polished fixtures gave hydrotherapy rooms an oddly clean appearance. At first glance, they looked like places for rest, but their purpose was far harsher. Patients were lowered into tubs of ice water or steaming baths, sometimes left for hours, while straps and canvas kept them still. Doctors claimed these methods soothed violent behavior or stabilized fragile moods. In reality, the effects pushed bodies into shock, slowed breathing, or left lasting trauma. The cold stiffened limbs, while heat drained strength and caused dizziness. Photographs from that era capture the unsettling contrast, a setting that could be mistaken for a bathhouse, yet arranged as an instrument of control. Water, intended to refresh, became a restraint of its own. From the tiled chamber, a new force would soon arrive. Electric currents designed to reshape the troubled mind. Number 4. Electroshock therapy sessions. This image captures a patient strapped tightly to a gurney, electrodes pressed against the head. The scene feels clinical, with wires and machines in neat order, but the silence around it hides the violence that followed. In those years, electroconvulsive therapy began without anesthesia or relaxants. Bodies convulsed beyond control, jaws clenched, and bones sometimes broke under the force of seizures. Doctors believed the bursts of electricity could reset the mind, hoping to ease depression or quiet schizophrenia. The method was praised as modern science, though the human toll was plain. What makes these photos so unsettling is the contrast. Precision instruments sit calmly in view, but the suffering they created is written across every restrained limb. Today, safer approaches exist and continue in rare, resistant cases. Yet these images remain haunting records. If electricity scarred thought, the knife soon would scar tissue. Number 5. Lobotomy patients. Close-up portraits from the 1940s and 1950s capture the unsettling shift after lobotomies. In one frame, faces still carry emotion. In the next, eyes seem blank, expression drained as if life were muted behind the gaze. The procedure often used an ice pick tool, driven through the eye socket, to sever brain connections. It was advertised as a cure-all for depression, anxiety, or disruptive behavior. Yet instead it left many reduced to a passive state, unable to speak, move freely, or maintain their former selves. A leading figure behind its spread was Dr. Walter Freeman, who turned lobotomy into a touring practice. He performed surgeries quickly, prizing speed and spectacle over caution. These haunting photos show not just altered brains, but stolen identities. Authority and desperation combined to erase agency. From this invasive control, we next witness chaos born of overcrowded wards. Number 6. Crowded wards of Bedlam. Bethlem Hospital in London, born in the Middle Ages, earned the name Bedlam by the 1800s. The wards were crowded, corridors filled so tightly with patients that beds pressed edge to edge. In photographs, figures lie in thin blankets, their bodies fragile, their rooms stripped of privacy. What deepens the unease is how public the setting once was. Crowds visited to watch the scene, treating human struggle as diversion. Patients lost dignity, not only through neglect, but through performance forced upon them. The images make plain that medicine had given way to storage. Overcrowding turned healthcare into containment, where buildings themselves reflected society's refusal to face mental illness with compassion. Each hallway looks less like a hospital and more like a holding pen. If adults endured this chaos, children too would soon be folded into the same cycle of harm. Number 7. Children in asylums. Photographs of children inside early 1900s. Asylums are among the most unsettling in the archive. Small figures in identical gowns sit in rows, while teenagers wander halls, clearly built for adults rather than children. Their size makes the surroundings loom even larger, highlighting how out of place they truly were. Many of these children were not admitted for severe psychiatric disorders. Records show they arrived due to disabilities, family poverty, or a simple failure to conform to expected behavior. Once placed inside, they often remained for years. Images reveal lines of cribs packed in cold wards, classrooms stripped of comfort, and play areas that felt more like holding pens than spaces for learning. Childhood, meant for curiosity and growth, instead stalled behind stone walls. From their stillness, we return to adults, restrained in another iconic image, the straitjacket. Number 8. Patients in straitjackets. A stiff canvas jacket with long sleeves and heavy straps is one of the most recognizable images of asylum life. Arms crossed tight against the chest, buckles pulled firm, the straitjacket reduced a living person to an unmoving form. It was defended as a way to stop self-harm, but the reality was different. Staff often relied on it for convenience, leaving patients bound long after any real risk had passed. Photographs from the late 19th and early 20th century show men and women held motionless in bare rooms, their stance the only thing left to express them. The symbol still appears in films and stage acts as a sign of madness. Yet the history behind it is humiliation. The straitjacket restrained not only the body, but the will. Beyond these walls, surgical rooms reveal another chapter carved into flesh itself. Number 9. Surgical treatment rooms. This image captures a treatment room where surgery once stitched itself to psychiatry. Metal instruments line trays, leather straps hang loose, and the table at the center bears scars of past use. The scene resembles a hospital ward, yet its history leaned more toward experiment than cure. In these rooms, doctors cut, burned, and probed in attempts to blunt emotion or correct behavior. Shock devices were tested beside crude surgical tools, and procedures ranged from brain operations to amputations hidden behind medical jargon. The setting was framed as scientific progress, but patients often had little say. Rusting scalpels, stained floors, and worn restraints reveal the hard truth. Treatment often blurred into violation. Photographs freeze these rooms in eerie stillness, standing at the exact crossroads of medicine and control. Even death itself brought no rest, as the cemeteries outside carried anonymity forward. Number 10. Asylum cemeteries. Rows of numbered markers stretch across untended grass, each one a simple stake where a name should be. These asylum cemeteries expose the quiet end of thousands who lived and died within locked walls. Instead of gravestones or carved memorials, numbers replaced identities. Patients were laid to rest without ceremonies, without families gathered, sometimes without records at all. The burial fields mirror the institutions themselves, crowded, impersonal, and stripped of recognition. The loss was twofold. In life, individuals were often reduced to cases or conditions, and in death, even their names were erased. Photographs of these fields make clear that the silence extended past the grave. These markers stand today as reluctant witnesses. They whisper of absence more than presence, reminding us that the most disturbing images are not ruins, but the lives erased within them. These photographs are more than eerie snapshots. They are quiet records of lives held still, voices that could not speak for themselves. Each frame works like a page in an archive, preserving evidence that otherwise would have vanished into dust. You are not looking at haunted attractions or props for ghost stories. These walls and markers remain lessons, carved in stone and shadow, showing how control replaced care. Their weight lingers because they demand memory. The haunting power is not in empty halls, but in the cost of neglect and the responsibility never to repeat it. Be sure to subscribe.